because you can listen to one group of experts, and boy, that seems to make sense, and then somebody else comes along right behind them and says almost an exact opposite as far as how they impact particularly reinvestment and whether it impacts it at all, versus the concept that if there's more oil potential someplace else, they're going to go there because that's the most money coming from that country or that state or whatever going back to their stockholders, and that's who they're really beholden to. I understand they say their interests are our best interests, but I believe in their hearts they know that that's not so. It's whoever, whatever area is serving best their stockholders, and whatever country you can operate in, regardless of almost the tax regime, is what it amounts to. And even the political thing, obviously, they've been kicked out of some countries, but still they're trying to wedge their way in there in some fashion, doing business with the national oil companies sometimes. So it's very, very complex on exactly how it works. Hopefully that will be what takes place in June. It's exactly almost that kind of, it'll be a little different form the way it takes place, but hopefully the information.
And I know what Joe said is correct. You will see those dialogues happen in debate, either in committee or on the floor. There will be an amendment to go to the legacy fields, to a gross, nothing else. And then you'll see, hopefully you'll see debate. We're used to just, and I think this question is much more divided than others, divisive than has it been in the past, but sometimes the majority wouldn't get up, but who's in the majority now? Would get up and we would make an amendment and we would speak on it, and there wouldn't be any debate back. I think we're in a world where there will be debate both sides, and you'll be able to see that through the amendment.
Do you find that you as legislators, and even the governor for that matter, are getting the kind of unbiased, high caliber information and consulting that you need to make this decision?
I'll start with that. The legislative budget and audit recently hired a few consultants who were there from the previous year. And as Joe mentioned, sometimes the consultants say completely opposite things, and so I think we just have to, in the whole process, keep driving for more and more answers until we get some sort of a consensus. I'm not saying that the group that LBNA is hired is biased, or the side of the governor is hired is biased, but I think that this is a plan that might last for in perpetuity. I mean, as long as the fields are alive. We need to make sure that we've got the best incredible evidence. And, I don't think I'm going to base it on one opinion or the other. I'm going to try and grab a lot of them. I think that's the same with the rest of us. There are still some open contracts I think we'll be discussing when we get down to Juneau for other consultants, in addition to the ones that we've already got. The legislature's already hired them together.
Part of the world of consultants is modeling, how they do the modeling, and what assumptions and formulas they put into their model. And sometimes when you've got two of them sitting there, one of them will talk about the model, and the other one will talk about what he disagrees with the model, and the other one will say, well, I didn't put that in my assumption because my experience in at Bukistan, that's not what it is, or somewhere over here. And then you've got battling, these guys are getting $100 an hour. And one of the things we're looking for, and I talked with the administration already, I want to know how they created this model compared to the PPT model, and what information went into it to create a different scenario. Because I think there's apples and oranges. You've heard the debate about not being able to hire enough auditors. We thought they were going to be able to hire enough auditors. They told us they were going to be able to hire enough auditors. They were going to be able to get to this point and have auditors in place that had told us, these are apples and these are oranges, and the cherries go over here, and here's the scenario that has created today's situation. Well, we know that hasn't happened, and that's kind of the world we're living in, is they're making assumptions based upon information they don't have. And I applaud the governor in the bill for that. One thing she's doing is she's accumulating more information, so Alaska knows more about the oil patch than we have in the past. Because a lot of this information is proprietary. We don't have access to it. We can't build it into our own equation. And the little bit that we have, as far as tax goes, is a small room where 3 or 4 people sit around, and they can't tell anybody else what they're seeing. So she's going after that information, you know, as far as other things, I'm, you know, not defending her or attacking her, but at least that is a good component of it. But those models, those economic models, those assumptions that we get from the consultants who do the modeling, we don't know.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, when I call on you, could you tell us your name, and we don't need your addresses, so you can go to somebody.
I was talking to Joe a minute ago, but you guys are our representative while you're down there, but I would encourage you to look at this tax seriously that Governor Cameron has. And I would like to give you one example. I've worked for the oil industry also for the last 20 years. And LAF is doing electrification. And I don't know, about a month ago I heard that they were up to $1 billion, and they've got one station on the line. And it's like they have an open checkbook and there's no balances in checks. And everybody in here, I hope you know who's paying for this. So, with this tax, I mean, I look at taxes with the Alaskan people, and I've been here my whole life, is like a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. And the taxes, I mean, we should do this together as a group. What are we all going to be? You know, I mean, and like Mr. Sheldon said, you know, they'd rather just turn their cheek and say, well, we'll go somewhere else and develop the oil, which I don't think they will either. But we're not asking for 50%. But anyway, just consider supporting them.
All right, I was reading at the bottom of inside the newspaper where Dermot Cole mentioned that Governor Murkowski had originally come up with a 25%, I think, a tax, and then he kind of secretly met with the oil companies, and then it dropped down to 20. I like to look at the oil companies as multinational companies who, the bottom line is they're concerned about profits. They want to look good in the stock market. They want to make as much money as they can. I don't think they have any particular obligation to the state. So it's up to the state, like Governor Palin and people like that, to make sure we get our fair and equitable share. Because, as I say, their bottom line is profit. And they're efficiency experts. You got to kind of make them aware there's an environment out there too. So I'm pleased with the 25% tax on this, and I think maybe if Murkowski hadn't gotten so cozy with the oil companies, he might have too.
What kind of, you were talking about modeling, what kind of models have you run through for the gross profit, and then after, answer just a couple other comments.
Well, the gross profit dialogue is still an ongoing, and that's part of the problem with proprietary information as far as exactly what it is. But it's a simple equation. You would say how many gallons are coming out of the ground. I don't know if the public has, if you guys have this, if we got this back there. But yeah, this is the administration's one of their scenarios. All the different, they took 5 different fields and did some scenarios, and they did some scenarios on gross. And I think when you're comparing gross to the